All right. So, man, this is crazy. Maybe Diddy's in way worse trouble than what we thought. Keefe D is on trial right now about the unaliving of Tupac. It's been alleged that he's saying that Diddy paid him $1 million to unalive Tupac. So Diddy's gonna be facing this while he's still incarcerated for the sex thing the sex ring that he was doing or whatever, the sex trafficking or whatever you call it. At this point, bro, Diddy done slid down a razor blade and land inside the alcohol river. Now, excuse me, you guys, I'm a little under the weather if my voice sounds a little different. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to get through these videos today. So let's check it out, man.
What's going to happen there, you think?
Well, Diddy's going to be in jail for the rest of his life.
I thought so.
I think he's probably going to get
Think he's
hit up.
saying though?
I don't know. I don't even think it matters. I mean, it's a lot of it is.
But then it's just another Epstein.
There's
it's Ghislaine Maxwell, where someone's indicted and nobody else indicted for to
right
no
to
one.
To no one.
Diddy has enough problems in 2026, but somehow 1996 just came back to collect. Keefe D is talking. Those old.
Now, 1996, bro. That goes to show you, bro. Karma is a mother. And what's done in the dark comes to the light eventually. 1996, man, that's 2026. That's crazy.
Claims about $1 million hit on Tupac are back on the table, and even Joe Rogan is side-eyeing the whole thing. Seriously, how many dark Hollywood stories can one man's name casually stroll into before we stop calling it a coincidence? Nearly 30 years later, Tupac's murder is back under a microscope, and Diddy's name is sitting way too close to it.
Darren Dupree says that Keefe D told him that Diddy was the one who offered money for the execution of Tupac Shakur.
So we heard this back in 2008. This is not new, but the fact that it was introduced into the trial is really stunning. So right off the Sunset Strip, there was a famous deli where Keefe D and Diddy were apparently sitting, and that's when Diddy said, $1 million you get.
So you know exactly what kind of mess we're dealing with here. Let's start with what LAPD detective Darren Dupree actually told the court.
Sean Puffy Combs was supposed to have given money to Zip Martin to give to Mr. Davis for payment of the Tupac. Fast forward, we go to Mr. Davis. He says he can rekindle that relationship with Mr. Zip Martin and get him to talk about the money that was given from Sean Puffy Combs to Mr. Martin that never got to Mr. Davis.
And did you guys or Mr. Davis come up with a plan to get leverage on Mr. Williams, Zip? And what was the idea?
Me, Detective Kading, ATF Jim Black, and Keefe D, Mr. Davis, flew to New York so Mr. Davis can work undercover to try to rekindle that friendship and business relationship with Zip.
And when Mr. Davis goes in to, do you remember the name of the club?
It's called the Zip Code in Harlem.
Does he in fact meet with Zip?
Zip, he did, but from what we gathered from what Mr. Davis told us, he passed him off to his nephew, meaning Zip passed him off to his nephew to do business with him. Zip had cancer or something like that. He was sickly. He said he wasn't in the business no more, something like that. So it didn't work.
So he was unable to reestablish a business relationship and do a Zip so that you would have leverage to then talk to Zip about what Mr. Davis. I'm just confirming the information you just provided. What?
You're just confirming that the information that you just were provided is what?
I'm just confirming the information that he just testified to.
So then, overruled. You may answer.
Yes, he couldn't rekindle the relationship.
And so you come back From New York.
Yes.
At some point, does the LAPD establish whether or not LAPD officers were involved in the murder of Mr. Wallace?
We found out that there was not any police officer involved.
Former Officer Gary Dale testified that in his final moments, Tupac refused to tell police who shot him. Poor guy probably thought he was going to make it out and wasn't about to start snitching from an ambulance. But that tells us something too. Tupac may have known exactly who was behind that And look at what was happening around him at the time. The bad boy beef was already ugly, Diddy was on the other side of it, and rumors that Diddy wanted Tupac gone were already floating around the streets. Now, does that prove Diddy ordered anything? No. But good Lord, you can see why this story refuses to die.
Trying to talk to him to find out what had happened, excuse me, gather information to see who would.
Did you wind up riding anywhere with Mr. Shakur?
Yes, I rode to the hospital in the ambulance with him.
During that time period, between the time you get to Mr. Shakur and the time period he gets taken into the hospital, are you able to have any sort of communication with Mr. Shakur?
He was still talking, and I was trying to convince him to tell me the name of whoever his assailants were.
And did he ever respond?
Yes, he responded, no, we'll take care of it. So, something like that.
No, we'll take
care of it. Something like that.
Tupac wanted to handle it on his own
Tupac
because
was
he
a
knew that
G.
Diddy hired Keefe D to target him. According to investigators, Diddy wanted Tupac gone. Court documents read, Diddy faces questions about his alleged role in Tupac's passing after being mentioned 77 times in a new legal filing. With the Diddy evidence file beginning with the documents reading on November 18th, 1995, Tupac was photographed with Sean Diddy Combs' baby mama, Sarah Chapman. Diddy described Sarah as being the one, his dream girl, so when she got with Tupac, Diddy didn't like it.
And it's not like people pulled Diddy's name out of a hat. Tupac had accused Diddy and Biggie of knowing about the 1994 Quad Studio, then signed with their biggest rival, Death Row, and dropped Hit 'Em Up, where he came for Biggie, Diddy, and Bad Boy with absolutely zero manners left. Then Keefe D later claimed Diddy offered $1 million to have Tupac and Suge Knight. Diddy has denied involvement, and that alleged offer has never been proven. But come on. This is exactly why people have been staring at his name in this story for decades.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like he enjoyed it. But I want to ask you about Puffy case. It looked like they're trying to connect him to Pac, man.
Well, the way the lawsuit and the way the law enforcement's been talking about it is that they believe that there was a check for $1 million that were paid out. What I've always said before is that follow the paperwork. Follow the paperwork. Kirk Burroughs came out of his lawsuit and said that Diddy had something to do with it. You understand? At that time, Kirk knew how to get the money, knew how to put the money into place. So follow the check. Everybody was saying, yo, nobody writes a check for $1 million for this, that, and the third. Well, like I told people a long time ago, the individuals that they try to say that had something to do with it or got paid for it showed us a check for $1 million. I don't know that to be true. I know that that individual told us that he got a check for Black Ground Records for selling a record company that I didn't know he had. I never said he did. So follow the paperwork, if that's true or not.
Facts.
So now if it goes
got to
back
be some wire transfers or something.
That maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. And I'm still gonna go with what I said. It's gonna come back, bro. It's gonna come back, bro. If they do, everything is already laid out there. All they have to do is 9 times out of 10 follow the paperwork. Keefe D gonna be free pretty soon.
You really believe that Keefe D, he gonna get free?
Yeah, he gonna be free. What I'm afraid of is this. When individuals was trying to get Keefe D out of jail, they was trying to get Keefe D out of jail to unalive him. or have something to do with him being unalive. That's probably the safest place for him to be, to a certain degree.
Right, you're right about that.
It definitely can happen there, depending on where you being housed at, what ward, and the whole 9 yards. But if something happened to Keefe D, LA, the Vegas Police Department would be like, yo, our job, we was trying to do our job. We had to, for Tupac, we was gonna convict him, but he came up dead. No, that's a cop-out. They have no, what you call that? They have no evidence. They have no evidence to prove that Keefe D had anything to do with the death of Tupac Shakur.
I don't know, man. I mean, we all seen that video of him crying, man. It looked like he losing hope.
Comfortable when you look at how many people connected to Puffy have died over the years. Biggie, Tupac, Kim Porter, Heavy D, Andre Harrell, Craig Mack. Now, obviously, these people died under very different circumstances, and a connection to Diddy proves absolutely nothing. But coincidence? I don't know, man. At some point, that list gets long enough to make even the least nosy person start asking questions.
Uptown Records started with 5 people. Andre Harrell, I'll Be Sure, Heavy D, and Puffy. And Kim, she was Andre's personal assistant. Kim is dead. Heavy D is dead. Andre Harrell is dead. The only 2 left are Puffy and Al almost died. Isn't that interesting?
Thanks.
You want to know what they all had in common, though? They were all writing tell-all books. And I'll Be Sure was working on the documentary of his life. And then he goes into a coma. Has Puffy ever been in a coma? Has anything happened to him? There's too many coincidences. So, we gonna get you and your little dog, too.
And here's where Gene Deal enters the mess for real. He says he was actually asked to come testify in court, which makes sense considering this man was Diddy's bodyguard during the Bad Boy versus Death Row chaos and was around that camp when all of this was happening. But Gene refused. Now, excuse me, you've spent years telling these stories publicly, sitting through interviews, naming names, and giving us backstage details. But when the courtroom calls and suddenly everything comes with an oath attached, you're not coming? Oh, I'm nosy enough to ask why.
I think Keefe D has made statements. He has been around us on numerous occasions. I've seen Keefe D around us on numerous occasions. You know, at concerts, in the hotels, several different places. I've seen them, you know, gambling with each other, having fun. So if they bring me in on the Puffy, and it's only because they want to make some connections that Keefe D did have some kind of communications and did have some kind of dealings with Diddy. That's why they want to bring me in. You know what I'm saying? I spoke to Keefe D's lawyer, and he wants me to come and testify. And I told him that I was not going to testify. I'll be telling the prosecutor the same thing that I'm telling him. I ain't coming in there on behalf of Keefe D, and I ain't coming there on the behalf of the prosecution to testify against nobody. I'm not doing it. You can't get me to go in there and testify. And if I had to sit down, you know what I'm saying, because they want to deem me a hostile witness or they want to deem me uncooperative, you know what I'm saying, and hold me in contempt, they could do that. I don't have a problem with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going in there testifying for nobody, against or for nobody. You know what I'm saying? And I know I've said some things, you know, regarding Keefe D and Puff on the internet, but that ain't got nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going in there, you know, to testify. For what? They already got information. They already know that. What I'm going to testify to, and for what? To establish what?
What did his lawyer want you to testify about?
Well, when I spoke to him, he just said, I said some good things about Keefe D, and he wanted to bring me in, you know, to testify on his behalf. on some of the things he had heard on the internet. You know what I mean? So, bruh, he didn't get into detail, but I'll tell you what I told him, you understand, about this whole situation. I said, yo, if you want anybody to testify, let me give you what you call a get out of jail free card. If he would get Phil Carson, the FBI detective who worked on Biggie's case, and he worked on some of the information on the Tupac case. If he would get Phil Carson to come in there and to testify, you know, for the behalf of the defense, to prove how they set this whole thing up with Keefe D, how they faked the proffer agreement, how they gave them information, you understand? How they gave him information and gave him a script to read. I heard Phil Carson say this right out of his mouth. He's an FBI detective. He's talking about LAPD. He's talking about LAPD, Greg Kading gave Keefe D a script to read. So if you want to say, and everybody talking about he was running his mouth, he was doing this, he was doing that. He was only saying this that LAPD told him to say. He was given a script. Phil Carson said that himself, an FBI detective, bro. So if Phil Carson, who was a decorated
dirty game out here,
FBI agent, said that Keefe D was given a script to repeat in a fake felonious proffer meeting, then that's his witness. That's his get out of jail free card. They ain't got nothing on him. It is what it is. So I told Keefe D lawyer that, and he was surprised. Or he was faking, because he was like, Phil Carson? I said, yeah, Phil Carson. How you not know that? I mean, we had a long conversation about that. He was laughing, he was joking. He said, yo, I'm gonna look into that. I'm going to look into that. I said, I don't know why you haven't.
How is he Keefe D lawyer and he don't know who that is?
He could have been faking, bruh. He could have been throwing the Jake move on me or whatever. But if he don't have Phil Carson coming in there to testify on the behalf of the defense on what he know about the LAPD and what they did regarding this felonious proffer agreement they gave Keefe D, then he ain't as good as lawyer that, you know, he making out to be.
And Gene Deal doesn't even buy the version of this story we've been fed for years. While everybody keeps staring at gang beef, Keefe D, and now Diddy, Gene thinks we may be looking in the wrong direction entirely. And considering this man was actually around Bad Boy when both Tupac and Biggie were, I'm at least willing to hear him out. His theory, though? Oh, it opens a whole different can of worms.
Somebody wanted the LAPD in Vegas during the time of Tupac and Suge Knight and them performing along with the Mike Tyson event. So I'm asking myself, and I want people to really think about this, who was the one who assigned or wanted to go and help the Vegas PD? Who was the one who came up with, we want to go with the Vegas, out there in Las Vegas, what cops or what chief of police or who, because the chief of police could only sign off on something like that, but who came up with the ideal that we need to be in Vegas to help the Vegas police officers? They never needed help before. Why does the Vegas Police Department need LA to come and help on this given event? Who came up with that idea? It had to be somebody in the police department. It had to be somebody in the police force. It had to be somebody who wanted to be there. I believe Suge Knight knows those people. He may have even seen those people. Because Suge said something that you gotta pay attention to. If you solve the Tupac case, you solve the Biggie case. And
Oh,
who
wow.
was involved
LAPD.
in those two cases
LAPD.
that could have Tupac and Biggie? Because you, me, any gangbangers, any regular citizens would not get away with killing any one of those people at any time. I'ma say this, and I truly believe because of the LAPD rogue cops, cops committing robberies, cops selling, they had something to do with both of lining up both of those individuals. If you go back and you look at the whole situation, brother, why is the LAPD out there? Why? What are they doing? What are they doing in Vegas on that night? Why are they helping them?
If you're wondering what the trial actually looks like so
Good
far,
question,
here's a
Gene.
quick rundown of week 1. We've already got old Keefe D interviews being played in court, prosecutors laying out their revenge theory, his defense basically saying he talked too much for attention, and witnesses getting very shy once the word testify enters the room. 30 years of Tupac theories are finally being dragged into an actual courtroom. So here's where things stand.
This week, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the former gang leader of the Southside Compton Crips, went on trial, accused of orchestrating Tupac's murder. And this was the alleged motive. At a Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas, this is the nephew of Dwayne Davis being beaten by members of Tupac's Death Row Records, including the rapper himself. An act of revenge for an attack months earlier. This week, the court heard recordings from 2009 of detectives interviewing Dwayne Davis. He tells them he was in the white Cadillac that's pulled up alongside Shakur's car and passed it to his nephew, Orlando Anderson.
I thought he was going to pull on my side. You know, that's my little nephew. I'm going to look out for him, you know. And he pulled on his side.
So you were fitting to blast if you had to, or you were just...
Yeah, if we would have been on our side, I would have blasted.
Okay.
The former gang leader repeated these admissions 10 years later in a memoir he co-wrote about his involvement.
A constant thing that always goes through the statements is Dwayne Davis's visceral anger at Tupac Shakur for putting hands on his nephew. In the book, he says, them jumping on my nephew gave us the ultimate green light to do something to their...
Yet despite his published confession, Davis has pleaded not guilty, and his defense lawyer has told jurors not to believe his client, saying he was known to talk rubbish and the state cannot prove his guilt.
Keefe was never charged for any of what he said during that time period. And it's because they knew he was full of crap. Otherwise they would have.
Yeah, you're essentially telling the jury that your client is a liar.
Yep, I am. Yes,
that's true. You better treat me as a hostile witness. I don't want to send him to prison. Sure. Even though we don't like each other. Sure.
Despite the no snitching rule, this trial is reliant on the self-snitching of Dwayne Davis himself. He even told detectives he spoke to Sean Diddy Combs about plans to kill Tupac.
And that's where I'm leaving this mess for today, because this trial is far from over.
Thanks. Far from over. I'm going to keep covering this trial, you guys. So stay tuned. This is going to get very interesting. Hopefully Diddy don't get hit with the charge, but if he do, he's never coming home. He's never coming home. He might as well. I know right now he could shit bricks in that jailhouse right now. He's very nervous. I understand that. Because I would be if I was him. Years and years later, 2019 up until now. Karma is a mother.